It's January 3rd here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with North Korea's Kim Yo-jong lashing out against President Yoon's New Year's address. The sister of the North Korean leader issued a late-night message on Tuesday that South Korea's deterrence plan not only gives the North the justification to expedite its efforts to secure more overwhelming nuclear forces. Top Hamas official Saleh al-Aruri was killed on Tuesday night after an Israeli drone strike in Lebanon's capital Beirut, Hamas claims. Israel has yet to comment on the attack. 5 people on board a Japanese Coast Guard plane died after their aircraft collided with a passenger plane at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. All 379 passengers and crew escaped the Japan Airlines passenger plane before it was engulfed in flames. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister Kim Yo-jong has sarcastically hit back at President Yoon's New Year's Day address, where he vowed a stronger deterrence system with the U.S. In a statement on Tuesday, Kim, a Vice Department Director of Ruling Workers' Party Central Committee, said that Yoon's deterrence plan gives justification for the North to enhance nuclear forces, giving him top credit for making the regime's military stronger. Kim Yo-jong also accused Yoon of, quote, making security anxiety a part of everyday life in South Korea. She also said the North had wasted time during the peace drive under Yoon's predecessor and promised a bigger threat to come. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un also called for his military to be at perfect readiness, defining ties between the two Koreas as hostile, which the South Korean government assessed as Kim's way of tightening internal solidarity. Our defense correspondent Jae-myung reports.
South Korea's defense ministry has strongly condemned North Korea's plans to escalate military provocations in the new year. This comes as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un ordered commanders to perfect the military's readiness posture on New Year's Eve, saying the Korean peninsula is inching closer to the brink of armed conflict. The remarks were also echoed during the regime's key year-end party meeting.
We must always be alert to the unusual development of the military situation on the Korean peninsula and be prepared to engage in war. As I mentioned recently, if the United States and South Korea ultimately plan on initiating a military confrontation with us, we will not hesitate to turn our nuclear war deterrence into serious action.
While strongly condemning the remarks, Seoul's defense ministry on Tuesday explained that Kim's words are aimed at intensifying internal solidarity.
North Korea's remarks are largely aimed at strengthening its internal solidarity and provoking conflict in the South. We strongly criticize North Korea's plan to continue engaging in provocative actions prohibited by the UN Security Council, including the enhancement of nuclear weapons, as well as the launching of additional reconnaissance satellites planned for this year.
A unification ministry official assessed that the regime used stronger terms when talking about tensions with South Korea and the U.S. to try and justify its will to strengthen military capabilities and deepen the public's loyalty to the regime. The same official also said the government will overwhelmingly suppress North Korean threats based on the Seoul-Washington alliance. Also on New Year's Eve, Kim attended a celebration accompanied by his daughter Kim Ju-ae. The North's media once again directed the spotlight on Ju-ae, with Kim Jong-un seen showing affection in public towards his daughter. Choi-min-jang, Arirang News.
On the first trading day of the year, President Yoon vowed to scrap the financial investment income tax that was set to be introduced next year in hopes of boosting investor sentiment and the country's equity market that he says is undervalued. Our Kim Do-yeon has this report.
On the first workday of 2024, President Yoon showed his commitment to vitalizing South Korea's economy. In fact, he became the first president to attend the New Year Securities and Derivatives Market opening ceremony, saying South Korea's stock market is heavily undervalued despite its global companies.
제 임기 중에 글로벌 스탠다드에 맞지 않는 자본 시장의 규제는 과감하게 혁파해서 글로벌 증시 수준으로 코리아 디스카운트를 해소할 것입니다.
To be specific, he announced that the government is looking into scrapping the law on taxing financial investments starting 2025. The law levies at least 20% for those that make more than 50 million won or $38,400 from stock investments or around $2,000 through other financial instruments. He also re-emphasized reforming the nation's short-selling market, and this comes as shorting is currently banned in South Korea until June of this year for now. Yoon said that the market is, quote, a place of co-prosperity and a ladder of opportunity for the accumulation of national wealth, saying he will keep communicating with the public to ensure a fair system. President Yoon also partook in the New Year celebration for the business community at the Korea Federation of SMEs headquarters. The event is co-hosted with the Korea Chamber of Commerce and Industry and is known to be the biggest New Year's event for both small and big-sized business leaders with around 400 participants. President Yoon there showed his hopes for 2024.
수출이 늘면서 경제 회복과 성장을 이끌 것입니다. 정부는 국민들께서 우리 경제의 역동성을 체감하실 수 있도록 온 힘을 쏟겠습니다.
He also vowed to invigorate the economy through emphasis on support for the service sector, advanced industries, and youth startups, and reducing financial burdens on small businesses by working with banks. On top of this, he also pledged to get rid of outdated regulations and to reform the labor system to instill fairness and the rule of law in the labor market. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The leader of South Korea's main opposition Democratic Party, Lee Jae-myung, is now recovering from a 2-hour-long surgery after being stabbed in the neck during his visit to Busan on Tuesday. The party lawmakers are holding an emergency meeting this morning to discuss the details of the attack. Our Shin Se-byuk reports.
Following the stabbing attack on Tuesday morning, Lee Jae-myung's surgery has been completed. The leader of the main opposition Democratic Party was stabbed in the neck at around 10:30 a.m. following a tour of the construction site of a new airport in Busan. According to the party's Spring Council members, Lee has surgery at Seoul National University on the jugular vein, and that his progress will be closely followed. He was initially taken to Busan National University, but was airlifted to Seoul upon the request of his family. He has a wound of approximately 1 centimeter, but remained conscious while being taken to hospital. A male suspect was arrested at the scene and has been identified as a man born in 1957, surnamed Kim. Police said the attacker will be charged with attempted murder. Following the incident, the presidential office issued a statement expressing deep concern and said society should never tolerate such acts of violence under any circumstances. President Yoon also called for a swift investigation into the assault, as well as utmost efforts to provide prompt and proper care. The National Police Agency has formed a 69-member special investigation team to conduct a thorough and swift inquiry. Prosecutors also have set up a team to look into the attack. Concerns are also being voiced within the political community. Following the attack, politicians across the spectrum were united in condemning the incident. The Democratic Party of Korea condemned Tuesday's attack, calling it, quote, an act of terror and a threat to democracy. The DP is planning to hold an emergency party assembly on Wednesday to provide an update on Lee's condition and to discuss the party's future operations. The interim chief of the ruling People Power Party, Han Dong-un, also criticized the attack, saying such incidents are, quote, absolutely unacceptable. The former PPP leader Lee Jun-seok also shared his concerns via social media, wishing Lee a safe and rapid recovery. With the general election scheduled for April this year, an attack targeting a politician is expected to raise concerns about safety protocols for campaign events. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
With the beginning of 2024 and approaching in his third year in office, President Yoon has held more summits and overseas engagements than any other South Korean leader in the same period. He is expected to do the same this year. We're joined by our president's correspondent Oh Soo-young to forecast what will be the president's main diplomatic initiatives. Welcome, Soo-young.
Hi, Dami. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, too. Soo-young, first off, what will top President Yoon's agenda on the foreign policy front this year?
Two things I'm going to say. Well, first, South Korea's first and foremost security needs against the threat of North Korea's missile and nuclear provocations, and also economic security, with South Korea being a nation very reliant on trade. So first, President Yoon will continue to prioritize South Korea's alliance with the United States and quite significantly add a nuclear dimension this year. By the summer, the allies are expected to produce a nuclear response guideline that they would conduct in the event of a nuclear provocation from Pyongyang. And President Yoon alluded to this briefly in his New Year's address, saying that the two allies' extended deterrence system will be completed by the first half of this year to, quote, fundamentally curb any nuclear or missile threats from the north. Now, on economic security, President Yoon will strive to expand Korea's export markets amid the challenges of high inflation, high interest rates, and sluggish economies worldwide. Seoul will also continue to strike up new trade deals and partnerships around the world to secure supply chains of materials that are critical to future industries like semiconductors, secondary batteries, defense, and digital solutions.
Right, and President Yoon's vision has been all about making South Korea global pivotal state. Now, remind us what that GPS means and also how he'll be actually pursuing this.
Right, so becoming a global pivotal state, that means making South Korea a crucial economic and security partner for the world and sharing common challenges like climate change and also coming up with joint solutions to the social impact of digital technology, as well as joining in the development of the global south. Now, to govern these kind of multilateral partnerships and the impact of future technologies, their implications, President Yoon has put particular emphasis on a rules-based world order and multilateral institutions to ensure that the future that we build upholds freedom, peace, and human rights. In 2024, South Korea is going to host the third Summit for Democracy, which was first initiated by President Joe Biden to address threats to freedom, the rule of law, and human rights across societies. Seoul will also hold a follow-up summit to the AI Safety Conference first held in Bletchley Park last year on ensuring the safe and responsible development of the technology. Also, South Korea began its two-year term as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council, which will let it increase its contribution to tackling some of the most pressing global challenges.
Definitely. We also have to talk about the possible hurdles ahead for South Korea. What are some of the risks ahead for South Korea this year then?
Right, with all the geopolitical uncertainties and also these sorts of economic troubles that a lot of countries are facing, South Korea is, as ever, very sensitive to external factors, and there are going to be a number of events that will inevitably affect the course of Seoul's foreign policy. The US presidential race in November, now that's been stirring concern among its allies. Observers fear that the possible return of Donald Trump as US president could once again undermine America's global security commitments to its allies, from South Korea and Japan in East Asia to Ukraine and NATO countries. Now, Seoul and Tokyo in particular, they forged a trilateral cooperation framework with Washington last year at Camp David to address North Korea's threat. Now, the two Asian neighbours may find it difficult to sustain their bilateral cooperation if the next US president fails to provide that glue that binds the two East Asian countries together, given their long-standing historical disputes between them. But even before the US elections take place, there's another key race in Taiwan taking place this month on the 13th, which will have an impact on US-China relations. Now, depending on whether tensions stall or grow between the two countries, that's going to dictate how other small powers wedged between them, like South Korea and EU countries, can really proceed with their trade with China, whilst largely depending on the US for security. And on top of that, the ongoing war in Ukraine and the Middle East, those could affect the US's focus on the Indo-Pacific and its level of commitment to its East Asian allies, simply because of capacity and or because of the US electorate's growing reluctance to support American military presence abroad. Now, also a possible backtrack of US leadership from multilateral institutions that we saw during Donald Trump's presidency, that could further destabilise free trade and cross-border efforts to jointly address shared challenges across the world, like climate change, digital technology and development around the world. So what experts say is that for now, South Korea could expand its diplomatic network of like-minded countries to ensure that there is stability in world security and trade, no matter what happens in November.
If and when Trump comes back to the White House, there will be a great need for other countries, the current allies of the United States, to work together even more closely. So these are all the actions being taken, efforts being made by all players around the world, with the possible new face of the United States government in mind. And so it's really critical for Korea to strengthening its cooperation with these kind of key allies, going beyond the traditional allies like Japan and the United States.
Thus, through his summitry last year, President Yoon called for global solidarity and a rules-based world order, pledging Seoul's so-called contributive diplomacy to strengthen multilateral cooperation for freedom, peace and prosperity. He's also been engaging in minilateral cooperation for regional and economic security with smaller units of new partners, for instance, engaging in military intel sharing with NATO and forging technological partnerships, including the recently forged semiconductor alliance with the Netherlands. So sensing this kind of opportunity amid crises to expand South Korea's role in the world as a crucial security and economic partner, perhaps South Korea could make more progress towards its goal of becoming a global pivotal state in the new year.
Definitely a lot to look forward to this year. Again, I'm sure it's going to be another busy one for you and President Yoon both.
Well, hopefully not too busy, but good to make Korea a global pivotal state. So fingers
Definitely.
crossed. Right.
All right, Seo, thank you for that report today.
Well, pleasure as always to be here, Tammy.
Hamas says its second-in-command has been killed in a blast in Beirut, sparking further tensions in the Middle East. The militant group is now planning to suspend ceasefire negotiations currently in progress through the mediation of Egypt and Qatar. Lee Seung-jae has more.
Hamas has confirmed that its second-in-command, Salah al-Aruri, was killed in a drone attack in Beirut. Lebanon's state-run national news agency said Wednesday that al-Aruri, along with other Hamas members, were killed on Tuesday in a blast caused by an Israeli drone. However, the Israeli military has yet to comment on the matter. If Israel is behind a recent drone attack that killed the Palestinian militant group's senior leader, it would mean further escalation in the Middle East. Iran, which backs militant groups like Hamas and the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah, warned of strong resistance against Israel, while the Palestinian militant group said it would suspend ceasefire negotiations that were in progress through the mediation of Egypt and Qatar. Iran's foreign ministry spokesman said in a statement that the attack by Israel proves the country was built on terrorism and crime. He further explained that the killing of Hamas's second-in-command was an assassination and pointed out that it was a violation of Lebanon's sovereignty and territory. Hezbollah also sent a strong warning to Israel, saying that Israel's assassination of al-Aruri is not a matter that will go unanswered or unpunished. Lebanese local media reported that around 6 p.m. on Tuesday, the Hamas office in the southern outskirts of Beirut was attacked by an unmanned aerial vehicle, adding that 6 people, including al-Aruri, were killed. Al-Aruri is the highest-ranking Hamas member killed since the armed conflict began in October. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The death toll from the 7.6 magnitude earthquake that hit Ishikawa Prefecture on New Year's Day has risen to 57 as of Tuesday. According to Japanese authorities, a series of aftershocks is making the search and rescue operations difficult. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida said Tuesday that the Japanese military has dispatched 1,000 soldiers to disaster zones to join rescue efforts. The Japanese government is continuing to monitor the situation, with aftershocks as strong as a magnitude 5 reported. A Japan Airlines aircraft has collided with an earthquake relief aircraft at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. All passengers and crew made it out of the passenger plane, but 5 crew members on board the Coast Guard plane lost their lives. Park Go-nu with the latest.
A plane burst into flames at Tokyo's Haneda Airport following a collision with another aircraft. The Japan Airlines Airbus A350 had just arrived from Sapporo when it collided with a Japanese Coast Guard plane that was preparing for takeoff as part of relief efforts for the major earthquake that struck the previous day. An Associated Press report says 5 out of the 6 people on board the Coast Guard's Bombardier Dash 8 aircraft died. The pilot is reportedly in a critical condition. However, all 379 people on board the JAL plane survived the impact and were evacuated before the aircraft became fully engulfed in flames, escaping via emergency chutes. Firefighters spent approximately 6 hours extinguishing the flames, while all 4 runways at Haneda Airport were closed in the aftermath, leaving thousands of travelers stranded. Videos shared on social media showed passengers shouting inside the plane while the cabin filled with smoke.
At landing, I felt strong shaking, and when I looked out the window, I saw sparks flying and burning. And when the plane stopped, in less than 1 minute, the cabin was full of smoke. Then the cabin attendant led us, and we escaped via the slide. I was scared to death.
Meanwhile, according to the BBC, experts have delivered strong praise to crew members aboard the A350 for their handling of the situation, which saw passengers evacuated in about 20 minutes. While the cause of the collision has not yet been revealed, a JAL official said the A350 was making a normal entry and landing and that the aircraft had permission from aviation officials to land. Airbus, the aircraft manufacturer of the A350 plane, said it will send a specialist team to help with the investigation. Park Go-nu, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Kim Ji-young, and now we turn over to stories from around the world. We begin in Ukraine this morning, where the capital Kyiv and the northeastern city of Kharkiv were attacked by Russian hypersonic ballistic missiles on Tuesday morning, leaving at least 4 dead and 92 injured. Russia's air-launched hypersonic ballistic missile, the Kh-47M2 Kinzhal, can fly at 10 times the speed of sound, making it more difficult to intercept. Russian forces have rarely deployed such expensive missiles against Ukraine due to cost restraints. The attacks closed down most cafes and restaurants in Kyiv and Kharkiv, while many stayed indoors and in shelters as the city was bombarded from the morning. The recent exchange of attacks between Russia and Ukraine began on Friday when Russia killed at least 41 civilians in its largest aerial attack of the war. The following day, a Ukrainian attack on the Russian city of Belgorod killed more than 24 people. Now, Turkish Interior Minister Ali Yerlikaya said on Tuesday that police had detained 33 people suspected of spying for Israel's Mossad intelligence service. As part of an investigation dubbed Operation Mole, police raided 57 locations in 8 provinces under the guidance of the Istanbul Prosecutor's Counter-Terrorism Bureau and Türkiye's MIT intelligence agency. Yerlikaya stated that the alleged spies were aiming to identify, monitor, assault and kidnap foreign nationals living in Türkiye. According to state-run Anadolu News, authorities are searching for 13 other suspects. The arrests followed Türkiye's warning to Israel last month of serious consequences if Israel attempts to hunt down Hamas members outside of Palestinian territory. Next, the Harvard University President Claudine Gay has announced her resignation just 6 months into her presidency amid accusations of plagiarism and antisemitism. Gay was accused of plagiarism over her 1997 PhD dissertation, where cases of inadequate citations were found. She was already facing calls to step down following a congressional hearing last month in which Gay and other university presidents failed to explicitly condemn calls for genocide of Jewish people as bullying and harassment on campus. 53-year-old Claudine Gay was the first black president of Harvard University and only the second woman leader in Harvard's near 400-year history. Harvard stated on Tuesday that Alan M. Garber, The current provost and chief academic officer at Harvard will step in as interim president. Nobel Peace Prize winner and the founder of Grameen Microfinance Bank, Muhammad Yunus, was sentenced to 6 months in jail on Monday for violating Bangladeshi labor laws. The Bangladeshi Labour Court found 67 employees of one of Yunus's companies, Grameen Telecom, had not been made permanent employees and that welfare and participation funds were not formed. The court also said that 5% of company dividends were supposed to be distributed to the staff. Yunus, who won the Nobel Prize for the microcredit initiatives, was granted bail on Monday, while the court gave the defense 30 days to appeal. He is also facing charges of corruption and fund embezzlement. His supporters claim that the charges against him are politically motivated, and in August, more than 170 global leaders and Nobel laureates signed an open letter urging the government to suspend all legal proceedings against Yunus.
Good morning. Cloudy and wet winter weather is on tap for Wednesday. Right now, wet clouds are passing over southern parts of the country, which will gradually spread to the central parts of the country over the course of the day. Mountainous regions on Jeju could see up to 10 centimeters of snowfall, with a heavy snow advisory issued. East of Jeollado and west of Gyeongsang-Namdo provinces could see 1 to 5 centimeters of snowfall through this afternoon. Then central regions could see sprinkles mixed with flurries. And also the dust level will go up high again in many places, so have a face mask on today. Starting off the day with lower morning temperatures than yesterday, central parts of the country will have daytime highs that are similar to yesterday, but southern provinces will be 1 to 4 degrees lower this afternoon, with some sunshine in Gyeongsang-do provinces and nearby areas. On Friday, we'll notice temperatures steadily dropping before waking up to a low of -8 degrees next Monday here in Seoul. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day and Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Thursday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.